Single dad fed a homeless woman. Weeks later, her lawyers knocked on his door. EmotionalStory. The knock on the door came at exactly 7:12 in the morning. The kind of knock that doesn't ask for permission. It demands attention. Heavy, precise, unfamiliar. Ethan froze in the middle of tying his son's shoelaces. For a second, his heart forgot how to beat. Nothing good ever came knocking like that. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the smallest act can change a life. Take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be felt, not just watched. Ethan slowly stood up, his hands trembling slightly, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Bills, debt collectors, something from his past, or worse, something about his son Noah. But when he opened the door, what he saw didn't make sense. Two sharply dressed men stood there, holding briefcases. Their presence felt out of place in his quiet, worn-down neighborhood, where even hope seemed too expensive to afford. They weren't from here, and somehow they were looking for him. Just weeks earlier, Ethan's life had been hanging by a thread. He was a single father, barely holding things together after his wife passed away 2 years ago. The grief had never truly left him. It had simply settled into his chest like a permanent weight, making every breath a little harder. He worked long shifts at a small warehouse lifting boxes until his back screamed and his hands went numb. The pay was barely enough. Rent was always late. Food was often stretched. And sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. But every night, no matter how exhausted he was, he would sit beside Noah's bed and watch him sleep. That was his reason. That was his strength. Noah was only 6, but he had already seen more pain than most adults. And yet somehow he still smiled. Still laughed. Still believed the world was good. Ethan held onto that belief, even when his own faith was breaking. It was on one of those cold, unforgiving nights that everything changed. He had just finished a late shift. His body felt like it might collapse at any moment, and all he wanted was to get home, heat up the last bit of soup, and sleep for a few hours before doing it all over again. But as he walked past the alley near his apartment, he noticed her, a woman. Sitting against the wall, wrapped in layers that barely qualified as clothing, her face pale, her hands shaking from the cold. At first he hesitated. Life had taught him to keep moving, to protect what little he had, to not get involved in things he couldn't fix. But then he remembered something his wife used to say. Kindness doesn't wait until you have enough. It shows up even when you have nothing. He stopped, turned around, and walked back. He didn't ask questions. He didn't overthink it. He simply offered her the small bag of groceries he had just bought. A loaf of bread, some soup, a bottle of water. For a moment she didn't react. Her eyes just stared at him as if she didn't quite believe he was real. Then slowly her lips trembled, tears rolled down her face, not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears of someone who had forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Ethan gave a small, tired smile and told her it wasn't much, but it might help. He didn't stay long. Didn't ask her name, didn't expect anything in return. He just walked away thinking that was the end of it. But sometimes, the smallest moments echo louder than we ever imagine. The next few weeks were no easier. If anything, life became even more difficult. Ethan's hours were cut at work. Bills piled up. The landlord started making threats. And one night, as he sat at the kitchen table staring at a notice he didn't know how to respond to, he felt something inside him begin to crack. He had always been strong, but strength has limits, and he was reaching his. Still, every morning he got up, made Noah breakfast, tied his shoes, and told him everything would be okay even when he didn't believe it himself. Then came that morning, that knock. Standing at his door were the two men who introduced themselves as lawyers. They asked for Ethan by name. His stomach tightened. He nodded. They exchanged a glance, and then said something that didn't make sense at first. They asked if he had recently helped a woman, someone who might have been homeless. Ethan's mind flashed back to that night in the alley. He hesitated, unsure where this was going. Then he slowly said yes. The men's expressions softened slightly, and one of them reached into his briefcase. What came next felt unreal. They told him that the woman he had helped wasn't who she seemed. She wasn't just another face forgotten by the world. She was the sole heir to a massive estate. Someone who had disappeared from her life after a personal tragedy, choosing to live anonymously, away from wealth, away from expectations. For months, no one knew where she was, not her family, not her legal team, no one, until she was found again. And when she was, she had told them one thing: find the man who gave her food when she had nothing. Find the man who didn't ask who she was or what she could offer. Find Ethan. Ethan stood there, his mind struggling to catch up. This didn't happen in real life. This wasn't how the world worked. But the lawyers continued. They explained that the woman had recently passed away due to health complications. And in her final days, she made changes to her will, changes that included him. Ethan felt his knees weaken. He had done nothing extraordinary, nothing heroic, just a simple act of kindness. And yet somehow, it had mattered more than he could have ever imagined. They handed him documents, numbers, details. Support for Noah's education, financial stability, a future. The kind of future Ethan had stopped dreaming about. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't let them fall right away. Because for the first time in a long time, he felt something unfamiliar. Relief, real, deep, overwhelming relief. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. Pain doesn't disappear overnight. Grief doesn't vanish just because circumstances change. But slowly things began to shift. Ethan found a better job. He moved into a safer home. Noah started smiling more, laughing louder, dreaming bigger. And every night when Ethan sat beside his son's bed, watching him sleep, the weight in his chest felt just a little lighter. He never forgot that night in the alley, never forgot the woman whose name he only learned after she was gone, and he never forgot the lesson she unknowingly left behind. That kindness, even when it feels small, even when it seems insignificant.